Okay, hello everyone. We are here together for this special Zoom call with Genevieve Vaughan. And this course is the SHE-EDE in the economic dimension of Gaia education. And with the appreciation and love of Genevieve, she's willing to be interviewed by all of us, and also she will give a talk about what is maternal gift economy and all her journey and her life, a wonderful, interesting life. So I would say I welcome Genevieve, and I welcome you all in this presentation. This presentation will be recorded and we will put it on our website, www.dancinggoddess.org. And you will have it. And also we will give also information about the Maternal Gift Economy website and also the salon that maybe Genevieve can tell us more about. But please, we welcome Genevieve, and please tell us a little bit about yourself. There's so much that it would take forever, but you are walking as you talk. So it's important that we have also your story and your life, which is really wonderful. So welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and so happy that you have this wonderful project of SHE-EDE in Sabina and Monte Sabine Così, and so it's just a great thing. It gives a glimpse of what we can actually do as we are going forward to change things in this terrible time of crisis at all levels. I just had my 85th birthday, so I've been in this work a long time, and I was born in Texas in a well-to-do family, and pretty early I began to realize that there was a big difference between my family lifestyle and some of the people they knew and the other lifestyles that were much less privileged. And so that was a continuous question to me. And then I went away to boarding school and to college in Pennsylvania. And I learned about the world and saw again all of the differences. Then I came back to Texas, and I went to the University of Texas for a while. And there I met a professor, an Italian professor named Ferruccio Rossilandi. And he was a professor of philosophy and semiotics. And I married him. I mean, he married me, or however you say that. We got married, and I moved to Italy with him. And that was in 1964. So it's been many years since then. And he had been in Oxford, and he'd learned linguistic philosophy. And there was a group of people, men in Bologna, who were going to start a magazine, an academic journal about Marxism and language. And so I was invited to go to the first encounter of that group. And I had not read Marx or anything, but I was so struck and so overwhelmed by what they were saying that I had to go to bed in the next room because I couldn't deal with it in front, especially in front of everybody. And so anyway, after that, I don't think I think that was the only time that I went to that particular meeting. But I began to study Marx, and as time went on, my husband wrote several books on that particular issue of applying Marx's analysis of the commodity and money to language. And I thought, as I had children, young children, and I could see that they learned language when they didn't know how to do anything with the market. They didn't know how to buy or sell anything, and money didn't really mean anything to them. And one of my daughters said, well, Mama, if that person is poor, why don't they just go to the bank and get some money? So that shows how much, they knew about it, what the market was. And so I thought, well, we can't really say that language is the same thing as exchange and the market. It must be something else. And so from then on, I have been trying to figure that out. And what I did figure out was that there is a kind of an economy before the market. And that is the giving and receiving that mothers and children do. And that itself is a structure, the structure of our human consciousness and our interaction. And that the market, where you only have quid pro quo, where you only give in order to get back, that's a variation on the original gifting and receiving, which is it actually contradicts it, because the giving and receiving is a logic that's based on the well-being of the other person, while exchange is based on the well-being of the self, of the ego. And so we are all born in a situation where somebody has to take care of us unilaterally. And we don't actually start understanding exchange until we're about 3 years old. So in the first 3 years, which is what they call now the epigenetic period, it's what happens after birth and how the genes are, what do you call it? What they say, how they come online, how they begin to operate. They begin to operate in this giving and receiving mode. And well, anyway, I'll just say that. And it is that, unfortunately, also, well, or fortunately, there is a die-off of neurons that are not used. So what then and then sometimes later on. So what it means is that the neurons that are stimulated by giving and receiving remain, and ones that are not stimulated by that die off. And that happens over time also. So the giving and receiving is the first and most fundamental human interaction. And children learn that by the model of their mothers. And if they don't have that, their mothers are somebody else who's mothering them. Somebody has to give unilaterally to babies in order for them to survive. So, so that is our first model of life and survival, is the receiving and giving, and it's not exchange. And I think that is a very important point, because we have begun to use the idea of exchange to cover all of our human interactions, It's just like we don't even think of giving and receiving except at Christmas or I don't know, something like that. And so anyway, in that first period, I began to work on all of this idea that developed more and more as time went on. And um, I eventually, like it was, I think, like many different things happened in my family and between my husband and me. And in I think it was 1978 or something. I had gone to the US with my kids and he didn't come. And we stayed a couple of years and then we came back to Italy. And when we came back, I had also been in the peace movement of US citizens against the war in Vietnam, the US citizens in Italy. And then I had met some feminists. And when I got back, one of the feminists asked me to join their feminist group. And I did. And that was a great liberation for me and a great beginning of understanding. We were about maybe usually probably 15, 20 women that met at the art studio of a woman that lived near the FAO in Rome. And a lot of the women from the FAO came to it. And so it was already an international feminist group. And it was really a revelation to me. And I finally understood really how how patriarchy and the market went together to discount what women do and discount this early kind of economy that comes from mothering and being mothered. In fact, I think that mothering and being mothered is also like not even seen by most men because they don't understand that it is work. It's not just some kind of a sweet enjoyment, leisure enjoyment. It's a lot of work to bring up kids. And I had 3 daughters. And so for me, getting into this feminist group was really fundamental. And so from then, and at the time I was having a lot of mental problems also because I don't know, whatever my own situation was not good. And so they supported me in that through that period. And then I decided to get a divorce. And I got a divorce and moved back to the United States. My daughters didn't come with me. They didn't want to come. They wanted to stay in Italy. And my husband wanted them to stay in Italy. And I didn't have any appeal. I didn't have any court of appeal to get them to come back and stay in the US. And so that has meant that I've been going back and forth from the US to Italy every year for the last years since the early 1980s, which has been a good thing because it's given me 2 countries. And that's why I'm able to be here with you all now, because otherwise, I wouldn't have met the Italian women that are doing great things in Italy and elsewhere. And I also got to go to many different women's meetings, international women's meetings, from Beijing in the UN Decade for Women Final Conference in 1985, And no, it was in Nairobi in 1985, in Beijing in 1995. But I also went to many other ones, and I met international women of all kinds, and have been talking about the gift economy as I have developed it and understood it over all of these years, because it did um, it did show me a very different perspective on what our society is, what our economics are, and going over it again and again for so long, and um, doing talks on it at different venues in these international conferences and everything, got me, I developed a group of women who also believed in it, and we all talked about it. And it has been what you could say, a wonderful ride, a long time of being able to feel like you're doing something that could be useful, because it is a deep alternative to what is our capitalist patriarchal society that is now really destroying the earth. So I feel very blessed by the fact that I was able to think something different. And I can hardly believe my good luck. But anyway, and back then also, I had inherited some money, and I used it for creating a lot of different projects in an organization that I call the Foundation for a Compassionate Society, which was a foundation that was doing projects according to what I was calling women's values. And we had a retreat center, actually 2 retreat centers. We had like a building in downtown Austin, Texas, the Austin Peace and Justice Building. And we had the Women's Peace House, and we had a number of conferences, and we did a whole lot of different things to try to practice the gift economy then and through a number of years. And this lasted from, let's say, 1985 to about 2005, when I finally closed it because I didn't have the money. And I had a lot of my money had come from oil and gas. And so I sold that in 2004 or something, 2002 maybe. And although my grandmother and my parents also had investments in oil and gas, and they put it in a trust. And so I still have money that comes from that in a trust, as well as it comes from other sources as well. So I can still do things with money that I'm very blessed to be able to do, that are actually counter money. They're against money and against capitalism and patriarchy. So that I've been in this intermediary place in between capitalism, patriarchy, and the gift economy, and a different world, a different approach to create a different world that is without capitalism and patriarchy and oil and gas, so on. So that's really, I guess, the story of my life. Now I have less money, but I can still do a lot of things, and I still try to do international activism. And we have this series of Zooms that we do every 2 weeks, and it's on this Maternal Gift Economy movement.org. and it's free, and you can just go on it on that website, or you can see it on YouTube. And these women from all different aspects of life who are doing gift economy things and talk about it. So we also, and we think about it and how the gift economy is different from patriarchal capitalism and the market, and what the values are, and how we put those into practice. So that's the story of my life.
May I ask you, Genevieve, if you can tell us, maybe you've done so many other things, that the story of the temple, what you've done
Sure,
it's a beautiful story, and it would be nice if you could tell that story.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when I was first married to my Italian professor husband, uh, I wanted to have children, and I didn't, and no children came for like a couple of years. And we went on a trip to Egypt, and we went to Luxor, um, where and the temple of Luxor. And the guide took us down into this. So we were on a guided tour. The guide took us down into this sort of room underground, where there was a statue of a goddess, Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess. And he told me, this is the goddess of fertility. And women come here and they make the goddess a promise, and they get pregnant. And well, Sekhmet is also a goddess of many other things, but I followed the example of the Egyptian women, and I made the goddess a promise. So I promised that I would build her a Taj Mahal, at least a temple anyway. And I was kind of grandiose, because the Taj Mahal would be a huge, huge project. But anyway, and like next week, I got pregnant. So it seemed, miraculous. And so I had my first daughter, and I didn't have the guts to build the temple. I was living in Italy, and I didn't have the guts to do that. And it was in the 1960s. I think, I don't know. I mean, I think it would have been difficult to build a temple there then. I would have had a lot of opposition probably from the church or whatever, but I didn't do it. And so, but I knew I had to do this. I had to. So when I came back to the United States, I was in the peace movement and the anti-nuclear movement. And I went to a demonstration in Nevada near the nuclear test site. And I thought, well, this is really the place to build a temple to the goddess of fertility. And so I started thinking about that and looking for some land nearby there, and finally found some. And I bought the land and gave it back to the Shoshone, who are the native people that used to inhabit all of that area. And I got some people who were in a peace group together, young people, to build this temple that is made out of straw bale construction. It's an environmentally appropriate way to do temples, and it has some copper hoops over the round ceiling. It's not anything as like the Taj Mahal, but and it's much, much smaller. but it kind of maybe reminds you that sort of the form of the Taj Mahal. So we put a statue of the goddess Sekhmet in there, and a number of other goddesses around as well. And there are a couple of houses out there that sort of prefab houses that had been there when I bought it. And so I hired a woman to be the priestess, and then we got people to come out there, talk to people about it, and they came and they began to have rituals out there on all the holy days and so on. And it's still there. It's still functioning. We've had several different priestesses over time, but people come there when they're going to the protest at the nuclear test site. And we also go to the protest at the nuclear test site. And there's a military base right across the street. It's one of the biggest military bases in the United States, and it's grown and grown over the years as our war industry has gotten bigger and bigger. And there's a prison down the other way. So we have the nuclear test site, the Army Air Force base, and the prison all around us. And we are the little spot of peace in the middle of this huge patriarchal and capitalist world, right, all around it. And so if any of you go to Nevada, you're welcome to go to the temple and see it even now. And that we did that in 92. Oh yeah, I gave the land back to the Shoshone in 1992, which was, the Columbus, the year of Columbus invasion of the Americas. And so we gave back that little piece of land to the Shoshone then. And so it's still going on. And some of the other things are going on as well. One of the projects, which was a retreat center that I gave to the Indigenous Women's Network, that is still going on. And we had women's radio programs, women's radio news programs, one in Costa Rica called FIRE, Feminist International Radio Endeavor, and the other one was at Wings, Women's International News Gathering Service, that's done by a woman in Canada, and which is still going on. Wings is still going on, FIRE is not. But we did a whole lot of different projects for social change with women's values, is what I called it. And anyway, now what I'm doing most is trying to explain and publicize the idea of the gift economy, of the maternal gift economy, because I think that we are all already doing it. It is our basic, let's say, schema. It's our basic blueprint, our operating system, the giving and receiving, giving and receiving, giving and receiving, going on and on, that we don't recognize is there. It's what we are as humans. I say that we are homo donans, the giving being, that we're a maternal species. We've got it wrong thinking that we're mankind. We are actually a maternal species, not mankind, because man is not kind. But besides that, it's the the way we function is by gifting and receiving, and receiving from others and giving again. Not exchange. That's not the same thing as exchange. It's a going around of gifts and a receiving of gifts. But anyway, maybe that is a good enough introduction to the PowerPoint.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jen. I'm going to put the PowerPoint. I just want to share with you on our website, The Dancing Goddess, we have a section in which let me share the screen, and we have a couple of books written by Genevieve. I mean, I don't know, Genevieve, how many books in how many languages all your books have been translated, and these are a few of the books that you've written. And I'm sure that in Italian, I know that there's quite a few, so you can find them in Italian. I don't know if there's any other language in which these books are been written.
Yeah, German. They've been in German and Spanish, and in maybe in Serbian, I think, because that was the first person that read my first book, Forgiving. A guy read it and really thought it was great, and so he translated it, which was pretty interesting. But anyway, it is there, and it's also maybe in Turkish. Oh yeah. So there've been translations in various languages.
Okay, so I'm gonna share with you with all of you the PowerPoint, and do you all see? I hope you all see. Can you do this if you see well? Yes. Okay, and so please, Genevieve.
Okay, you'll need to go on because I have to read off of what you've done. So there we see this island. Go next. Go to the next one. Okay. The patriarchal capitalist economy is floating on a sea of gifts. In 2012, using time use criteria, feminist economists estimated the USA's 2011 gross household product at $11.6 trillion as compared to a GDP of $13.3 trillion. So that was from Ironmonger and Supermas. If we add to this free production, the global ecosystem services, which have been estimated as some 125 trillion a year, compared to the monetized economy's 75 trillion GDP, we can see how the market economy is like an island nurtured by a sea of gifts. We are in a very dangerous time in history, but the disruption of everything has shaken many of the fundamental beliefs that have allowed these disasters to happen and to continue to get worse. If we can, it is our highest duty to understand what is wrong and change it. The idea that bad things happen because people are bad does not answer the question of why they are bad. My answer to the question is that in the dominant cultures, we have been interpreting the world according to a mistaken paradigm of patriarchy and the market, and that this encourages us to perpetrate personal, economic, political, and ecological crimes, both individually and collectively. Change. Go on. Sabina? I believe the Euro-American misunderstanding of who and what we humans are as a species, as genders, and as a patriarchal capitalist culture derive from a point of view inside the problem, and that it becomes very difficult to stand outside it to see what else there is. The wanderings of my life's path have led me to this outside place, and for many years I have been trying to explain what I see from there. My proposal is that we are in a situation of parasitism, where the socio-economic parasite of patriarchal capitalism feeds on the host, made up of people practicing the gift paradigm and of Mother Earth herself. Change. We are colorblind to the gift. The gift permeates everything. Many people have seen the analogy of the parasitic economic system, but they have not recognized the maternal gift economy character of the host. In fact, without the self-consciousness of the host, there is really no hope for changing the parasitic complex, other than the death of the combined entities. That is why I have been trying so hard to reveal the importance and omnipresence of the maternal gift economy. In fact, we all have both the parasite and the host within us, around us, in other people, and at the social, political, and planetary levels. The human economy is based on unilateral giving. We have been blinded to this by the economy of exchange, money, and patriarchy. But we must recognize and return to gifting for the survival of Mother Earth and our own survival. In order to do this, I invite you to shift your point of view from considering exchange as normal to considering gifting as normal. In fact, gifting is still everywhere, even though we don't see it. Indigenous societies in the Americas and elsewhere survived and thrived for millennia in gift economies. The European settlers, who had long been infected by money and market exchange, brutally eliminated those societies, or tried to. The economic parasite is deeply threatened by the independence of the host. In capitalist patriarchy, what remains of gifting as an economy is mainly located in the domestic sphere, and it is particularly prevalent during infancy and early childhood care. That is because unilateral gifting is necessary for the child to survive. We have also internalized gifting as part of our mind-body consciousness relation. We don't see gifting because patriarchy and market exchange create a linguistic and conceptual filter that keeps the recognition of gifting out. In fact, gifting continues throughout life in many of our basic capacities, like language, perception, understanding, and in acts of kindness, solidarity, and care. Anywhere it is not distorted by power over and quid pro quo. In the market, profit is made from so-called surplus value, the value of the work over and above the salary that is paid to the worker. This includes the value of the gift work of women in the domestic sphere that passes through to their own and others' surplus labor. And it also includes the gifts of nature that are commodified and appropriated in the production process. All of these gifts, which seem to be normal paid and unpaid work, flow into what is named the profit of the capitalist, who thinks they are just money she or he has made and deserves. In spite of this, gifting continues unrecognized throughout life as the basic human operating system in accord with the gifting of Mother Earth. Gifting actually has a different logic from exchange, with different implications. Giving unilaterally is oriented towards the other and gives value to the receiver. If A gives to B and B gives to C, then A gives to C. So the gift goes around and unites all the receivers and givers. Exchange is ego-oriented and gives value to the self, to the product, and to the money, instead of to the other exchanger. This puts the exchangers in adversarial positions. The quid pro quo relation has analogs in the exchanges of violence and war, vendettas and retributions. Many-breasted Artemis is the emblem of Mother Nature as Mother Nurture, the bearer of innumerable unilateral gifts. She represents the environmental niche, or the evolved nest, as Darsha Narvaez talks about, that has been both constructed and found by our societies, and that makes receiving and giving its gifts possible and easy for us. We can practice gratitude towards her, as many indigenous peoples do, or we can separate ourselves from her and exploit her as patriarchy merged with capitalism does. In fact, the parasitic economy makes the gift economy difficult and even sacrificial. One of the philosophical questions that has beleaguered Western thinkers is the epistemological problem: how can we know reality? The answer is that knowledge comes to us through the unilateral, maternal, nurturing gifts of nature, which we are perfectly adapted to be able to receive. If we think about this within the paradigm of exchange, we see humans and Mother Nature as separate and adversarial, and we may even see children and their motherers in the same way. However, in receiving her mother's milk, the child is receiving the knowledge of gifting nature. The mother's milk provides both physical and cognitive nurturance to the child, and she receives all the other gifts of perception, attention, and communication as she grows. Mother care creates the framework for receiving and giving, perceiving and being perceived, received, while one's needs are being understood and appropriately satisfied. The framework for perception and meaning is the transitive interaction of mother care, and it is the framework for language. Abstracting, we can see gifting as a network where the lines are pathways of gifts given and received, and new gifts are given. You can't really see that very well because in this slide, but there are lines connecting all those dots. Gift relations structure our perception. My audacious hypothesis: the model of unilateral giving and of receiving from a unilateral giver remains throughout our lives and forms the basic structure of most of our communicative and cognitive processes. We have not recognized the importance or even the existence of unilateral giving and receiving because we are caught in a bilateral quid pro quo economy of exchange that reverberates throughout our thinking. The exchange economy takes gifts and exploits gifting and hides what it is doing by denying their importance or even existence. This is expressed in the relegation of mothering to its own sphere, domestic sphere. In the last decades, infancy research, mirror neuron research, and interpersonal neuropsychology have added a new perspective on infancy, showing how important early childhood experience is for the epigenetic regulation of gene expression, which necessarily takes place in relation with motherers who are practicing unilateral caregiving. The model of unilateral giving and receiving is given to and received by all children during this period. Otherwise, they do not survive. Although the exchange economy is parasitic on the unilateral gift economy, neither the parasite nor the host realizes what it is doing. We have misnamed the gift portion of products as deserved profit, so we don't recognize their distorted connection and continuity with the unilateral gifts of mothering, which are also often unrecognized and distorted themselves. In fact, there is a layer of seemingly willed misperception and misnaming that separates gifting and exchange. There are many terms that reference giving and receiving, but they have been neutralized. For example, input and output, data entering and retrieving, even supply and demand. Some ways gifting is hidden linguistically, translating neutral into gift. The senses. Touching is both giving and receiving sensation. Hearing is receiving sounds, but we give our attention to the sounds in listening. Seeing is receiving the visual information of our surroundings. Looking is giving our attention to something in the visual field, picking out something to visually receive. Smell is receiving olfactory information that is given by our surroundings. We inadvertently produce and give out odors and pheromones. Some other examples of activities in which gifting is present but neutralized. Breathing. We breathe in, we take in that gift, and then we breathe out, and we nurture the trees and the all of the plants with our breath. The circulation of the blood, where the heart beats and takes the blood out to the cells and then comes back and is nurtured again. Walking, we give one foot forward to the earth and then the other foot. Then we also go from one place to another. We give ourselves from the place we start to the place we've finished. And they're basic cognitive schemas like path to goal and going into and out of a container. We incarnate gift patterns in our objects. Archaeologists from the future or from another planet would see giving and receiving in our artifacts, like puzzles, like pouring tea into a cup. The cup is receiving, and like Lego. Another example, the important ecological psychologist J.J. Gibson coined the term affordance to mean what he called the action potential of something. For example, the affordance of a chair is that we can sit in it. We can translate this into giftees by saying the gift of a chair is that we can sit in it. To me, this means that we attend to our surroundings to find the gifts that will satisfy our own or others' needs. The scientists can't see through their categorical division that they have made between humans and nature, so they can't actually allow themselves to use the word gift. If Gibson had said gift, he would have had to write a book of justifications. Why has our society expurgated the word gift from so many aspects of life and nature? Using the word gift might personify the giver, the motherer, or Mother Nature, which would allow us to feel gratitude and acknowledge the importance of the gift for us. Not using the word gift allows us to feel neutral and not to pay attention to the fit the merge between ourselves and our environmental and human niche. On the other hand, not using gift may also allow us to think we deserve what we receive. So we should not feel gratitude, but only self-esteem because we earned it, or it was the duty or the nature of the source to supply the good to us. But if we put ourselves in the roles of receivers of the gifts of Mother Earth, we can recognize her as giver and recognize also our human motherers and the paradigm of giving and receiving beyond and without quid pro quo exchange. We are always receiving the gifts of Mother Nature, and we also do it together. Joint attention is an activity that starts in early childhood but continues throughout life. Perceiving is receiving. Pointing identifies a shareable perceptual gift. Joint attention is receiving a perceptual gift together. Receiving the same gifts implies a similarity of the receivers. This is an important basis of human community relations. The gift economy frames our thinking in childhood, and we maintain it throughout our lives without really knowing that is what we are doing. Mother Nature is in us, in our physical bodies, interacting with the world, and Mother Nature is outside of us. She and we provides us with gifts of perception and affordances, actions and interactions of all kinds, which we receive, remember, and give to each other again with word gifts on the virtual plane of sound and materially satisfying each other's needs. It is challenging and exciting to think that we could translate back into gifting all the mistranslations that patriarchal capitalist culture has made, and that this would reveal the ubiquity and importance of the maternal logic and way of being. It would also help us shift the paradigm away from the matricidal, ecocidal course our society is on. The paradigm of the gift economy is already within us. It has not died, although now, with neoliberalism, it seems to be discredited at every turn. We can try on an individual level to recognize the logic and importance of the maternal gift economy, and we can begin to require its acknowledgement by our patriarchal leaders, who, because they are entangled in the exchange paradigm themselves, cannot find their way out of the disasters they continue to create. Mother Earth is waiting for her children to come home. If we can return to the values of mothering, which are the earth-based pan-human values that give us language and community, if we can find the deep logical patterns of gifting, communication, and live by those patterns, perhaps we can avoid the catastrophic end that patriarchy and capitalism are preparing for us all. And this is a picture of Mother Earth, the statue of Mother Earth that was made by Marcia Gomez, an indigenous sculptor, years ago, that has been in the Temple of Sekhmet all of this time. So there we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Genevieve. Really, thank you very much. It's really, really exciting to be into this maternal gift economy mode, trying to really change everything, change with this with a new system. So I'm really very grateful for your presentation. And we are also here with maybe a few. Oh, I see Daniela. Ciao, Daniela. And if there are questions, I'm sure that there might be. I would like to give the word for questions if this is good for you, Genevieve. We thought that we might have I have many questions, but I would like to give the word maybe to Anna. Anna was, when we were talking in our SHE-EDE, she was hoping, she had some questions for you. One, I guess. Anna, do you want to join in?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me for the sound?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My question is, we had been talking about the maternal gift economy the last days, and I'm asking myself how we could make this shift if the market-based exchange economy is present, and I'm obliged to pay rent and all that kind of stuff. How could we switch our thinking and our behavior more in the direction of gift economy? And I see a lot of difficulties because this is not really going well together, and I wonder how we could do that.
Well, I think the fact that we're in such a crisis worldwide, of war, terrible wars, and the degradation of the environment that people are also ignoring, but it's collapsing around us. So if we get the idea that the system that we're living in is causing these problems and that there is an alternative that we're already doing, because we are all already, as babies and as grown-up babies, we all already have the gift economy as an underlying economy within us. I think we can make a paradigm shift. And if we do make the paradigm shift, that makes it a lot easier to find ways of doing gifting in practice. So there are many communities already that try to do gift economy, alternative economic communities. But even in our personal lives, there's times when we can be gifting and do it more rather than less. But we just, I think, recognizing that this is who we are, fundamentally, that the exchange mode is imposed on us, is important in that we can make choices little by little, day by day, towards the gift economy way. And I think that, and it would be a challenge for me, and what I would really wish I could do or want to do, is to show how the whole academic world is based on exchange, and they've left out the whole mothering way and the whole gifting way, just as the economy has exploited gifting and exploited women and mothers, so has the academic world in the West. And when we realize what we've done wrong, we can change it. We can also change it in our individual lives, and we can see that when we're being kind to somebody, we're just practicing the gift economy. We're practicing who we are as a species. It's not because we're good, it's because we're human. We are showing our human species being, and not acting in a way that, well, when we say we're good or bad, those are categories. They're like receptacles that we put these actions in order to understand them, without bringing them back to the gifting way as our normal way of being. And our normal way of being, when we can do it, feels good. I mean, we are actually happier when we can nurture other people and not hurt them, or than we are when we are hurting other people. I mean, that is an aberration. The patriarchal way of giving blows, giving hits instead of giving gifts, to dominate instead of nurturing, is insane. As is our society now. We should be living in harmony with nature, and we're destroying it, and we're destroying each other. This is, I mean, and people say, oh, well, we're a species that failed. We're not. We're a species that got it all wrong. You know, do not understand ourselves. We are not Homo sapiens because we don't know. We don't know who we are. Because underneath we have this gift economy, this maternal economy that's still going on. So we can choose to act as our species, our true species, or we can choose to act as this plundering species that is the patriarchal capitalism. And so how to do it in daily life? Smile at a person who looks sad. You know, I mean, from that to actually, you know, cooking dinner for somebody that's hungry, or anything that can help to satisfy a need, like activism. There are all kinds of things that are actually needs out there that we just see as maybe behavior. We neutralize our understanding by calling something behavior instead of satisfying needs. It's a shift in paradigm, a shift in the way of thinking.
Thank you, Genevieve. Is there any other questions? Is there other questions? I don't know, Anna, if you have other questions, maybe someone else would like to ask Genevieve, Jen. I mean, I have a question. When you were talking about this mother, but what happens, in this patriarchal society, the toxic society in which a lot of mothers, we grew up also, I don't know, with mothers that didn't give, I mean, a lot of people have been really traumatized. And to you, what happens? We have it in us, but we didn't get it. So what can we do for these people that didn't get it, or for who didn't get it, and how can we change this? Because there's a lot of, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of women, a lot of friends, a lot of people telling me, but my mother, she didn't breastfeed me, she didn't give me the love that I needed, and this and that. So I mean, and it's not about culpabilizing, but it's, what happens and how can we change it? Of course, we can, what are your thoughts about it? Thank you.
Well, in indigenous societies, there are many motherers. Mothers are supported by other women and by men too sometimes. So they don't have to do everything by themselves. There's a community, a maternal community that supports women that are mothers. In capitalism, we're all separated into our individual homes, in our individual marriages, and the men are not there to help the mothers, and the mothers have to do everything by themselves, or they have to give up work. It's the problem is the context of capitalism in which mothering has to happen. So capitalism is really anti-mothering because it exploits gifts and it takes away the abundance that's really good for mothers to have around them. Whereas a different kind of society is a society that nurtures the mothers, that mothers the motherers. And that is why so many mothers don't manage, to be able to actually take good care of their children. But that somebody has to take care of them unilaterally, or they die because they can't give back the same an equivalent in return for what they've been given when they're little. And so they do get that unilateral care because they survive, but it may be difficult because they may not get quite enough, or they may get the wrong kind of care, and all of those things. Still, it is enough, I believe, to put into act this schema, this underlying logic of giving and receiving. That is what sustains us throughout life, like I'm trying to show in language and in all kinds of interactions that we do. Like, as I also often say, like throwing and catching a ball, like walking from here to there. We have a whole lot of unilateral analogies that just permeate our lives, but we don't see them because we don't even know that unilateral giving is a good thing. We think that only God does that, but it's very commonplace. So, and very commonplace in women and mothers, but also in everybody's life as a basic operating system.
Thank you. I see Tarandap. Hi, Tarandap. You have a question? I see your hand raised. Can you speak?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually asking for a society which is totally opposite, as in India we have, where the women are supposed to sacrifice a lot, and they give a lot of things without even asking, and they are not even appreciated for it. They are like taken for granted. So I mean, they are giving gifts, by giving up their like the surname, then they are coming to live in other person's home. They are, and even in such situations, even the in-laws, even if a mother-in-law acts like a patriarch, not like a matriarch. So in such societies, I have in my house also, we live in a joint family. Mostly in India, we are living with our parents and grandparents. So I have seen my mother and other women of, my aunts and all, they who are not, those who are working are even more exploited, because they're working outside, and at home they are supposed to give their salaries to their mother-in-laws or their husband, and then they get some pocket money. Or even though maybe by data you will consider them like financially independent, but they are not. They cannot take their own financial decisions. They have to ask in the family first. And also when it comes my sister, she was working, and the home budget, the monthly budget was supported by her salary, and her husband, he kept on accumulating his salary and make a lot of things on his own name. And now that she's getting divorced, she doesn't have anything. And she was also working in his company, and but she was never registered as an employee or anything. This is for the women who are working. And then women who are living at home, like my mom, I always saw her working in the kitchen and taking care of little, the health, everybody's health. She's given a lot of gifts to everyone in her family, but she has not been appreciated, or given. There has been no exchange. So how can, this is, what do you say about this kind of situation?
Yeah, I believe it is a context that's based in patriarchy. And as an individual, to try to get out of that is very difficult, because there's not a philosophy that would back you in being able to get out of it. Now, capitalism, in a way, has liberated some women by letting them work in the market, but that has brought them into the exploiter camp rather than being in the exploited camp. But we need to undo both of those camps, both of those structures. And just to recognize there is the possibility is already a help, because people can, if they feel justified in changing, they can change and they can find their own ways. But as it is, society is set up in a very harmful way in most places. There's still some examples of matriarchies where that doesn't happen. But as patriarchy has taken over everything and it has merged with the market, as we have patriarchal capitalism or capitalist patriarchy, and the two support each other and they take gifts from everywhere. So the way to get out of a situation like that is only to start understanding that there are other possibilities and see if there is some way that you can unite with other women in that area. I don't know, and really probably depends on what the situation is there, if there are any feminist groups. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know it well enough to even say how to go about it. But I do know that in India there are matriarchal groups that one can access or go to those societies and see how it works there. Just to realize that that is not eternal, that the exploitation of women is not eternal. It doesn't have to be that way. I don't know if that helps. But.
3.Dec, do you have any other question?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I saw Daniela that she raised her hand. You're muted, Daniela.
Yes, I know. Yes, thank you. I came a little late, but when I heard you, I thought about, or I think about a lot of times how feminism can bring us to the maternal shift. Because if I am in a way of not the white old man group, so I'm a little bit of underdog, and I need to be equal to all other people who have the power to say this is what you need to do. And for me, feminism is the way to make a shift. What do you think about that, Genevieve?
I think, yeah, I think feminism is great. I consider myself a feminist, but I think that the participation of feminism in capitalism has liberated women to some extent, but it also has corrupted them into believing in capitalism, the capitalist values of supremacy and selfishness and making more and more and more and all of the greed and everything. That is what is destroying the world. So women are smart and they're caring, most women. And so they are more able to get away from the traps of capitalism, I think, than men have been. So I have a lot of hope for women, but I also think for feminists, but I also think that the way that capitalism has developed has trapped us again in its values. but we can get out of it if we feel the need and the necessity of it, and we see what it's doing to the world. If we see how, it's destroying nature, and it's destroying untold numbers of women and children and grown-ups and people, and wars and with famine. It's just things are really awful right now, and I believe that people are recognizing that this is the case, and we need to basically change. But I think also that people just think, well, human beings are bad, and so we're going to all die, and that's the end of it. We just better get our piece. We had better get more right now while we still can. And I think we are not bad. We are a human being, a gifting being that has been taken over by an exchange-based dominant being who are ourselves. So we have these two aspects of ourselves, and we have to be able to dismantle the patriarchal capitalist way, even in ourselves, and bring forward the gifting way. That means like changing the paradigm is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Maria, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you as well for sharing. I think my question goes on those lines of the line of whenever we want to do any behavioral change, there are some traps from the normal way or the way that we grow up on. So I wanted to ask you if there are any type of traps that we need to be constantly trying to take or see whenever something happens, because I'm thinking now that there might be very little stuff, such as a friend come by and she bring a cake, and then I feel I need to do the same for her. I don't allow myself to receive what she's giving. Very small thing, or it can go into a bigger thing. So yeah, more or less,
Yeah.
that is my question.
Yeah, there's that, and there's there is a reciprocity that I think is okay, but it's not a quid pro quo, not a I give you this only if you give me that. So, or I receive from you, so I have to give back to you. But there is a willingness involved and a need satisfying aspect of that involved. But there are other traps that are like, I think morality, the categories of morality are traps. Like we do something in order to be good, instead of in order to satisfy a need. And satisfying the need is good, but we use the categorization, the development of moral systems, instead of explaining things in terms of giving and receiving, which is more basic. I think religion is a way of, explaining things of what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing, that hides gifting and explains it in another way. So I think patriarchal religion is not conducive to changing paradigms. Even law is really based on the equation of X equals Y in commodity exchange. So law develops in a society based on exchange. We need a different kind of way of organizing our thoughts and our values. And we do have the example of indigenous people, like in the United States. The indigenous women now are really talking a lot about their ways of doing things. And I think they are a great example of how a society can live with gift values rather than exchange values and values that come from the market. And even personalities that come out of the market, because when you're taught that you can only be a successful human being if you can make a lot of money and exchange a lot for more, your whole motivation system and your idea of yourself is different from the idea that you have when you see other people as having needs that you can satisfy, and them as able to satisfy your needs, and the whole community is based on that, and even the community with nature is based on that. There's a really nice new book by this woman, Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is a Native American botanist. And this new book is called The Service Berry. She also wrote another book. Sorry, I'm not remembering the name, but it's another. Gathering Sweetgrass, I think it is. Anyway, she talks about the gift economy of nature and people within that, and she also cites me and Mickey Cashtan, who's a woman that's trying to do a community of people that act according to the gift economy. But if you'd like to read that book, I guess it's probably not translated yet into Italian, but it is in English. It's a beautiful book, and you could take a look. Robin Wall Kimmerer is her name.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I don't see any more hands. Is anybody more would like to have a question for Jen?
Yes, I don't know how to raise my hand.
Yes, Nina, please.
Maybe it's a kind of a follow-up question to the situation that Tarandip described. So, do you think there are any limits to how we should practice gifting in our own lives in the context of patriarchy? I'm also thinking about this game theory example that was going around the internet a few years ago, where they taught you through this game that in game theory, it's kind of smart to be kind until the other person proves themselves unkind to you. And I'm also thinking about a lot of examples from my own life and from other people's lives where they've been kind and giving and caring, and that's been exploited because of the patriarchal context. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the patriarchal context, you just have to realize that's the way things are, and be careful. I'm really against masochism. I don't think women should be giving to their own detriment. So how do you avoid that, get around that in order to do giving? Maybe it's just giving in a verbally. Maybe it's just being kind to somebody rather than if you don't have anything much to eat, giving them what you have, because that's masochism. But maybe you could help them find something or something of that sort, rather than having to self-sacrifice in order to give. The reason we have to self-sacrifice is that the abundance has been stolen from the context by the market and capitalism. We have not, I mean, this is a very abundant, beautiful planet. And our traditions could help us find food wherever we are, because people have been living on this planet for a long time. But that education is not given to us. It's taken away. And we have to go to the supermarket. And if we don't have any money, how do we buy anything? So we're in a system that contradicts gifting, or it exploits the gifts and the people's needs. So I think the first step is just to realize that we are in this very difficult, negative system, and it's not our fault, and that it's up to us to find ways around it, and that there is out there a whole other paradigm that is who we actually are. And so we can also get together and form communities that do this. Yeah, I know it's difficult in a personal life, but if you think you're alone doing it, it's a whole lot harder than if you think you're in a group or even a few people doing it. And there still are many matriarchal societies that exist, and people that are still doing gift economy, and people that, like in the Native American groups, that still do gift economy, even though they are also in the exchange economy and have had to be. So we just need to put our minds to the fact that we are in a very negative, wrong system that is ruining the earth and making us ruin each other and making us be destroyers instead of creators. And we have to change that, because life is too wonderful and beautiful to destroy. It's up to us, especially up to women who still know how to satisfy needs directly. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I feel terrible about what may happen in a week or a year or 10 years. We can stop that, but we don't really know we can. So it's up to us to find out how and to take steps and experiment and try to do it. There are, like I said, there are a number of groups that are trying. So, and there are a lot of people that are trying to do gift economies, alternatives, communities and structures. They are not based in maternal gift giving. They don't even know that it exists because they haven't thought of it that way. But if they did, they would be able to experiment with it better and let women's leadership happen. We're in an insane moment. Our whole society is insane with genocide. I mean, that is just, I watch Al Jazeera every day and I see the most awful things every day. And it's accepted. And my country is supporting it. That's where the gifting goes. They gift armaments. You know, they don't gift food, they gift armaments to kill people with. And so anyway, and that are environmentally devastating. as well. The values that we're living by in our society in the big picture are all wrong, but we can do it differently. We as women already have had mothers and we've been told that we're going to have to be mothers probably ourselves. So we've had our mindsets in that direction to some extent. I mean, it is true that capitalism makes mothering look awful a lot of the times, but that is because it exploits it. Anyway, I'll get off the soapbox and we can finish, unless you all have more questions.
No, Jen, I mean, this is a wonderful, wonderful, loving, call to activism. I just hear your call to activism to all of us. We're all in this together.
We are.
And really, we are all in this together and we need to make this change. And you're really our elder in this journey of change, of big change. And I mean, I really thank you very much, for this gift that because Jen has gifted us this beautiful call, this beautiful lesson, this beautiful everything. And really if you can all maybe unmute yourself and just say hello or thank you to Genevieve Vaughan for all of, all of the beautiful words. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Grazie, Jen. I hope to see you soon. Grazie, grazie
Grazie,
infinite.
Sabina. Thank you,
Ciao.
everybody. Ciao.
And thank you all. Bye bye.